Being recorded.
Fantastic. Okay. It is, sorry, let me mute my phone because there you go. It is July 22nd at 6:01. I will call the meeting to order. I'm going to take a roll call, and when I state your name, please say it. All right. So we have myself, Jeff Mangles, Commissioner McDonald. You are muted.
Chris McDonald's here.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Bloom.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Kirkjian.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Kibbe. I see you. So there you go. And Commissioner Wilkins.
Here.
Great. So that's all we have. I don't see Commissioner Remsen. I know Commissioner Gifford was not going to be able to make it. Okay. I'll have to okay that. All right. Very good. So, and again, I just came in from the city, so please bear with me. Okay. Before we have public participation, we have received some correspondence regarding one of the items on the agenda and other information. But before we begin public comment, I just want to note that the Commission has received the written correspondence regarding tonight's agenda, and those submissions have been distributed to the Commission and will become part of the public record. As part of every consistency review, the Commission considers the applicable provisions of the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan, and both public and agency comments, water quality, navigation, environmental impact, public access, and any other matters that fall within our authority. So I just wanted to state that. And Amelia, do you have additional information that you want to share?
I will just reiterate that we received the one public comment email, and for those who in the future wish to submit public comment via email, please do so by noon on the date of the meeting. Send it to me. My email is amelia.williams@norwalkct.gov, and the subject line should be public comment. This is also in the blurb on all of the Harbor Management Commission agendas. That being said, if anybody has any public comment they would like to make now, please use the raise your hand feature at the bottom of your screen, and then we'll give you permission to speak. As a reminder, please state your name, your address, and the agenda item you will be speaking about. I'm not seeing any hands, but I'm going to give it another minute maybe in case anyone.
Second
Okay.
or two. There you go.
Here come the hands. All right. All right, first one, it just says iPhone 6. So as a reminder, please just unmute yourself, state your name, address, and the agenda item. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Beverly Krieger. I live at 9 Seabreeze Place, Norwalk, Connecticut, and I am calling concerning the Manresa Wilds application. And if I haven't ever appeared before your commission before or attended one of your meetings, so I have a couple of questions. It looks like from the website that all of the information provided to Planning and Zoning Commission was also provided to you. There are a number of letters by concerned individuals that were filed with regard to that planning and zoning application. And my question is, and my request is, that those letters be considered part of the comments with regard to the matter you are reviewing today regarding Manresa Wilds. Can that happen? or did we have to separately file? I didn't hear about this meeting until 5 o'clock today. Apparently it was not well publicized.
It's always publicized.
Yep, this is the Harbor Management Commission's monthly meeting, and just as a clarification, I did get an email about this as well. It is not a separate application. What happens is the Planning and Zoning Commission, any application they receive that is on property that abuts or is contiguous to the harbor is required to be referred to this commission. So it is the same application. It is not a separate application. The Planning and Zoning Commission refers this same application to the Harbor Management Commission so that they can find consistency with the Harbor Management Plan. So any comments that you submitted to the Planning and Zoning Commission for their public hearing would not be necessarily applicable. It's still public, and the commission receives the link to the webpage that has all of those comments posted. But for a specific comment on the referral process for the Harbor Management Commission and whether or not this application is consistent with the Harbor Management Plan, would need a separate public comment. So if you'd like to make that public comment now, you are more than welcome to.
Well, I have to say I'm not really prepared, except to say that there is a great deal of concern among the neighbors, of which I am one, about runoff, increased flooding, and the very broad mandate that is being requested by way of the zoning application. Not so much what there are traffic issues, but that's not your mandate, as I understand it. There are big concerns about the lack of limitations that they have placed on their request. For example, they want to be able to have boating activities there, but it's a very general statement, and I would ask that they circumscribe and define exactly what's being requested by way of zoning activities that would impact our harbor. So are they asking for ferry service? Is that part of their application? Are they asking for just kayaks and canoes? Are they asking for rental? Are they asking for marina activity? All of those things could be included in the broad language of the way the application currently reads. And there's also concern about not having adequate information yet about the environmental impact that all of their asks would have on this very fragile island area. It's called an island. It's really continuous because of a causeway now, which floods during storms and has flooded in recent times fully. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
All right, we have our next speaker. Please state your name, address, and agenda item before your comment.
That would be Dave Lindsay.
I believe it's Deirdre Kavanaugh.
Oh, Deirdre.
So you
Okay.
just have to unmute yourself first, and then you can go ahead, Deirdre.
Okay. I wanted to talk, it seems very echoey.
We can hear you
Not on
fine.
our end. We can hear you
Oh.
fine.
Okay. I read your report about public street access, water access. And I think there was a gentleman named Christopher who was the one that kind of identified the 21 streets. And is he on the commission?
Chris McDonald is on the commission. He
Yeah,
did spearhead it.
I'm here tonight, and I did the preliminary study. It was then given to the consultant who produced the report that was entered into the POCD a month or two ago. So yes.
So I'm wondering if you're the right person to speak with about Second Street, which is a current public water access. Would you be a person to speak about?
Sure. If you want to reach out to me at my city email address, I'd be happy to correspond with you or talk to you about.
I'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Deirdre, if you can send that request over to Amelia as well.
Sure.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Okay,
That'd be
great.
great.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Last one, Dave. Dave Lindsay.
Ooh, there are two of you, Dave, and can you put your hand back up for a second if you'd still like to talk, just so I can promote or allow permission for the correct person? Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia, and thank you to the commissioners. I also have to just state for the record that while I understand this is the monthly meeting of the Harbor Management Committee, Commission.
I'm going to interrupt Dave for 1 second. Please state your name and your address.
Oh, I apologize.
Okay.
It's David Lindsay, 10 Outer Road in Norwalk.
Great, thank you.
So I just, as everyone on this call is well aware, the Manresa application is subject of great public scrutiny in Norwalk right now. So I'm just, I would have appreciated a little bit more notice on this, like the last speaker who mentioned that. But regardless of that, I have just one of the things about the Manresa Wilds application that's under consideration by the Planning and Zoning Commission right now that is objectionable to some of us is that it is not defined to the point where we feel it should be. And there are many amorphous aspects of this application that are saying that these aspects of what we want to do on the site, we don't know yet, but we're going to defer this to the future. But we want this application to be approved now. And I don't think that's really the way that this has to be managed. I think that deferring an analysis of certain aspects of the project, such as traffic, flooding, all sorts of other issues that are dependent on what gets done on this property, that cannot be a substitute for compliance with current standards. And that's the point that I'd like to make, that I don't believe that the applicant has provided sufficient information with sufficient detail in order for either this commission or the Planning and Zoning Commission to make any intelligent decisions until that information is provided. And I would ask that the commissioners make sure to get that information from the applicant prior to making any decisions on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other public comments?
I don't see any other hands raised, so one more time, if you would like to speak now for public comment, please use the raise your hand feature at the bottom of your screen.
Okay, I don't see any other public comments. We have acceptance of minutes. Everyone has the minutes, and I'm assuming everyone has reviewed those minutes. So we need a motion to accept the minutes of last month.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you, Chris. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Alan. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so passed.
I
Very
abstain
good.
since I wasn't present.
Oh, okay. You're abstaining. Okay. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you very much. Okay. So we have the acceptance of the minutes. Now application review. We have 20 Hendricks Ave. It's a CSPR review and a pre-submission. So has anyone looked at that? I certainly did. So this is, again, the CSPR referral, 20 Hendricks Avenue, I think it is. Yeah. Do we have anybody for that application?
Yes, hi. My name is Emily Weckman. I'm with Weston Sampson, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant, which is Norwalk Redevelopment Agency, who also has Carly Kramer here in attendance. I do have if you would like, I do have a few slides that can walk you through the project, if that works for you.
There are 1,000 words. Go for it.
Okay,
So
great.
if you should be able to share.
Yep. Okay. All right. Get that. There we go. Okay. There we go. All right. So again, we're here to talk about 20 Hendricks Ave, which is this parcel here, which is landlocked with 148 East Ave to its east, Norwalk River to its west. To its south is St. Anne's Club, and to its north is 144 East Ave, which is a mix of professional and residential units. Here are a couple existing photos. Starting at the top left, this is from the existing boardwalk that runs at its north with the residential units and the professional offices. This is where it terminates as you start to look towards our property at 20 Hendricks Ave. The top right photo is the property of 148 East Ave and the 20 Hendricks Ave property line facing south towards St. Anne's. The bottom left photo is the footpath that leads to St. Anne's Boardwalk, which you see here on the bottom right. So as I'm talking through this, you have an existing boardwalk to the north and an existing boardwalk to its south. And we find ourselves with this gap along 20 Hendricks Ave. This is the FERMET map for FEMA. So we are in a floodplain and we are working through the state permitting as well as Army Corps at this time. This project is part of a vision that's been going on for a while. Back in 2014, they did have an application with the state that received approval, but that expired. So back in 2024, the project was revitalized at a conceptual stage, and we met with a pre-application review with DEEP. And then in 2026, we progressed the design to a design development stage for local and state permitting, which brings us here tonight. But it's been a vision to fill this vital gap along the Harbor Loop Trail to allow connection for the community to the water and the trail system and provide opportunities to connect Southern Norwalk and their urban landscape to much more of a community. This index sheet will just orient you how my proposed plans are oriented. So over here to the left, you have the southern border of St. Anne's, and over to the bottom right, you have our northern border with the professional offices. This is the proposed design that illustrates an elevated boardwalk that connects to the southern boardwalk and the existing boardwalk to its north. The elevation is at approximately 9 feet in elevation. So what that allows us to do is construct this using helical piles to really minimize impacts to the environment that runs along the property line. The boardwalk does hug the majority of the property line along 148 East Ave, and we have connections for maintenance access only that will be gated. Along with the boardwalk, we are doing some improvements for existing outfalls to bring them up to more current erosion and sediment control standards with improved outfalls that will minimize erosion and control in the future. And those outfalls are designed to receive the maximum volume. So it would really be an improvement to the existing conditions that are currently there. The boardwalk will be 12 feet clear, and it will have guardrails on each side that are composed of a aluminum railing system that will provide a really nice look and provide the safety and protection along this boardwalk for the community. Okay, I will just end it there and be happy to answer any additional questions, whether it's technical or general.
Any of the commissioners have any questions?
I'll just say that I like kind of the helical piling design element in terms of minimizing the impact and not really trotting down like the local waterfront land as much. Just one question on if there was some kind of like ecological assessment in terms of if there's any critical habitat or like shellfish beds there.
Sure was. So SLR did do a wetland assessment, and I think it's next week we're back in front of the Shellfish Commission. But we really have minimal impacts to those communities and the wetlands, as you see. Most of the boardwalk itself is above the CJL line. And again, it's elevated. So even when you see the boardwalk and how it sort of mingles with some of these regulatory lines, we are elevated. So the impacts are minimized to the 12 to 18-inch augering of those helical piles for temporary impacts. And then the helical piles themselves are only 4 inches for the permanent impact.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Any other questions? Certainly there has to be. How long is this boardwalk?
Great question. I missed that part in my description. It's about 950 feet in linear length, connecting north to south.
Okay, and I see that you have the maintenance area.
Correct. That will be gated off. But again, just for when you have to replace a deck piece or something like that, the staff, the DPW can get up there and provide maintenance as needed.
All right. Well, this certainly increases public access. And is there going to be any environmental replanting of any plant life, anything like that you anticipate doing?
So right now, additional plantings are not included within the plan set. It's densely, as you saw in those existing photos, it's densely vegetated, and it will likely keep that density that is existing there now, given even after our minimal disturbance during construction, which we anticipate doing in a top-down method, but we are open to possible construction from the adjacent property. But right now we are considering a top-down method as we go along. Yeah.
And it's just the trail. There's no fishing spots. There's nothing like that.
Correct. There is no additional fishing pier. We did want to be sensitive to the abutting property owners. And for that reason, we really stuck with filling that gap that will allow the access and connectivity that is really part of filling that gap that is needed for the community.
Okay. Well, it's certainly an improvement, access to the harbor and to enjoy the harbor and to get exercise, get outside and away from your screens like we're doing now. So does any commissioners?
It will be nice to be able to walk on a boardwalk and not through that parking lot to connect the two parts of the trail.
Well, yeah, that trail looks a little sketchy. So I would
really find enhancement for the city in this part of the Norwalk River Trail. I mean,
yes, absolutely. I think that it's needed, right? You're just connecting one end to the other. That's all you're doing.
Well,
Correct.
I think
Yeah.
the big thing that's going to improve all of it, and this is a link in it, is when the walk bridge is finished, the trail will continue past the railroad all the way down to Vets Park, Constitution Park, and then Vets Park. So you'll have a
Right.
full link on the east side of the river, and this is the key part of that improvement. So I'm all in favor of it.
Yeah. So
I know
you're making
I know the city's doing a lot of efforts to fill in this gap amongst the other gaps to really create this connection that is vital to the whole community.
Okay. Well, thanks, Emily.
Thank you.
Rick, was that a motion that I heard?
I'll make a motion that it's consistent with the Harbor Management Plan, and that the application can proceed.
A second.
A second.
Was that Alan or was that Danielle? I seconded it.
He can have it.
Okay, Alan, I'll give it to you as you
Thanks.
seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Anyone else? Thank you very much, Emily.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Nice job on that.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, let's see, that's the Hendricks. And there was this other, was this the harbor management? It's the consult harbor management. There was a PDF there, Amelia. And
Yes, there's the
applicant
form with
will-
the COP application or the
That's it.
pre-submission consultation.
Yeah.
Apologies,
Okay.
excuse me.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Now what we've all been waiting for, we have Manresa Wilds. So whoever wants to start that, if you introduce yourself and we can go ahead and start moving along.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I'd like to start off. My name is Liz Suchy. I'm a partner at Carmody Torrance Sandak and Hennessy, and I represent the owner of the property, Manresa Osprey LLC. We're very happy to be before you tonight to present the aspects of the project that directly relate to the harbor management plan and our belief of its consistency with the plan. So as all of you know, Manresa Island, Manresa Park, and Manresa itself is located on the southern side of Longshore Avenue. It's approximately 125 acres. Right now, the northern 30 acres are underway to create what we call the North Forest, which will be a variety of walking trails, gathering areas, and the like, parking lot, a small parking lot and restrooms, which we anticipate opening in about a year from now for the public to be able to gain access and have the opportunity to gain the ability to experience this property. We're very pleased to be here before you and just want to go through a few things. The applications that are currently pending before the Planning and Zoning Commission are the result of more than 2 years of observations, analysis, and monthly meetings with Department of Energy and Environmental Protection and city various staffs. So it's been a long process, but we've developed a proposal for the adaptive reuse of this property that's been a industrial site for many, many years to something that the city of Norwalk, its citizens, and others can be able to enjoy. The applications are currently under review by the Planning and Zoning Commission. The public hearing is still open. That hearing began on June 24th. It was continued to July 15th. And I just want to note for the record that at that meeting, I made reference to tonight's meeting of this commission that you would be hearing this application and you would be hearing about the project so you could determine its consistency with the harbor management plan. That hearing has been continued to July 29th, and I suspect it will be continued into August as well. So the public has a lot of opportunities to state their positions, make their suggestions, and ask questions. So Manresa Wilds would be a privately owned, privately funded park, and it'll allow public access to open space. It will open up more than 1.5 miles of Long Island Sound waterfront. It will provide walking trails, gathering spaces, water-dependent uses such as and activities such as kayak rentals, swimming, restoration of various habitats like the North Forest that I just described. It'll be an area where restored and improved landscaping will be presented, native plantings, other water-related activities, even educational opportunities through collaborations with Wesleyan and Sacred Heart Universities, the Maritime Aquarium, and hopefully Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, indoor and outdoor community gathering spaces, and so much more. That's just a very broad brush overview of what Manresa Wilds is all about. We have a variety of members. We have several members of our team present tonight who we'd like to have present to you aspects of the proposal. It includes Jessica Vonashek, who is the Executive Director of Manresa Wilds, Doug Adams, Manresa Wilds Director of Entitlements, Chris Murphy, the Chief of Design and Construction, Gina Worth and Colleen Juarez, who are the principal landscape architects from SCAPE on this project, and also Andrew White, a professional engineer with Ty and Bond. So we'd like to give you a very brief presentation on the property, Manresa Wilds as a project, its concept, and then discuss what we believe are the consistencies of this project with the city's harbor management plan, the best management practices that we plan to employ, and certainly answer any questions that you may have. So with that, I'll turn it over to either Doug or Chris or Jess.
Chris is going to share the presentation and run through it. And as Liz said, if there's any questions or interrupt us along the way with questions, happy to answer what we can or get back to you with responses if need be.
Commissioners, great to see you. Can everybody see my screen?
I can.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, again, thank you, Liz, for introducing me. Chris Murphy, Chief of Design and Construction for Manresa Island Court, the Manresa Wilds team. Been with the team a year and a half working on this project. I've got 12 slides to run through where I will cover briefly our project goals, the existing conditions of the site, as well as a brief overview of the master plan. And then I'm going to hand it off to Gina Worth with SCAPE Landscape to talk about some programmatic elements of the landscaping design that fold into and create this master plan as the basis of the district application that's in front of planning and zoning and yourselves. So the first 4 pages are really the highlighted project goals. We've been in front of this commission once before, but I think it's worth restating our key goals as they relate to the Harbor Commission's intentions and oversight. We are looking to be a place like no other in terms of the conversion of this site. A core tenet of the project vision has been to create an accessible shoreline that is not accessible today. So a total of 1.75 miles in a much larger region of privatized shoreline, an opportunity to bring that accessibility back to Norwalk in a very public way. We've got this vision for an island for all, so a place that Norwalk and the broader region has access to and can come enjoy at will without cost. A revitalized ecology, that was something that from the initial onset of Austin and Allison, seeing Manresa Island and making the decision to purchase it and falling in love with it, there's a lot of remediation work that needs to go in to make it safe and healthy for the habitats that exist today and into the future. So revitalizing the ecology that exists into a long-term resilient park is a core tenet. Couple slides on existing conditions. I believe a lot of you have seen this before when we came and presented on the Phase 1 North Forest. But just historically, over the past 70, 80, 90 years, it's gone from an original land mass to an expansion process out of the industrial uses of the power plant. Majorly, the coal ash deposits being pushed out into the marshland and creating almost three times the original land mass into what we know today. So just so much of the current condition is a contaminated byproduct of the power plant processing over the past 75 years. Historical site, as of February this year, we made some minor progress on site with some initial site prep and demo. You can see the oil tanks have been removed, but this is the condition of the site. Since this moment in time, February, we put in about 3.5 months of active construction on site in the phase 1 North Forest, 28 acres up closer to Longshore that we came to the commission came to you all in the beginning of the year. So that has progressed at about 20% of overall construction schedule. The master plan that is the core basis of our district application and the intended programmed uses for the site is shown on the screen here. When you dive into the site plan, we've kind of grouped it into 27 different areas of programmatic elements. I will pass it off to Gina shortly to kind of dive into some of the more coastal water-based programming conversion proposals that we have in the master plan. But just high level, we've got the northern phase 1, the 3 clearings, the parking lot, the trails, et cetera, to get the community back in and engaging with this birch forest in a new way. As you move further south down the site, you come across the revitalized, remediated, rebuilt wetlands, item 27, and then we plan on building a freshwater cedar swamp, item 4, living shoreline along the east. Item 11 and 8 is about a 5-acre playground for young folks. And then we've got the water-based focus within the Berth Marina that we'll dive into with some rendering shortly. A 5-acre Great Lawn expanse to the southeast of the building, beach scrub scramble, and then the adaptive reuse, repurposing of the existing power plant structures. And then this last slide before I hand it off to Gina is really taking the site plan and bulking it into these 3 categories of green space, which makes up 80% of the overall 125-acre property, which is just a huge ratio of the planned improvements for the district. And then we call out about 12% of the area being used for beach, play space, water access, and pool, and really just an 8% overall building, parking, plaza, kind of operational back of house areas to keep the park running. I will hand it off to Gina, and then it'll come back to me for 4 slides at the end of the deck to talk through very specifically Manresa Wild's master plan and how it relates to the Harbor Management Commission's harbor management plan. So, Gina.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you, commissioners, for your long-term stewardship of Norwalk Harbor. So I'm going to just walk through these different programmatic zones. I think it's important to note at the beginning that one of the things we heard in our extensive multiple series of community outreach events, both with local youth and greater community members, was the desire to connect with the harbor and connect with the water in diverse ways, and that this site was uniquely positioned to be a site of water engagement in different ways. So we'll walk through those different zones. The southern portion of the site is really meant to be an actual swimming beach, a public beach element. There's a thick planted buffer to the west to both protect some of the adjacent views across the harbor and across the existing ecosystem of the wetland that's to the west today. But on the southern side of the island, this is really meant to be a gathering space, a beach, but a beach that is more ecological in nature than existing beaches around the Norwalk area. You can see some of the planted areas, the existing pocket marsh that we would be preserving and expanding. And then the next slide begins to show some of the areas that kind of represents like the look and feel and type of beach that we're trying to create here. A beach that has mixed grain sand, maybe some pebbles, planting and frames, and create some of the ecosystems that we see in the greater region and in the Norwalk Harbor Islands. Also, as part of this access to water complex, we have a large shrub scramble, which the next image shows. This is a moment where are kind of descending from the building and the kind of central pool, public swimming pool complex, where local residents might go for a swimming class, learn how to swim, or a swim meet with their kids, and then walk down to the beach. And we wanted this to be a very like nature-based immersive experience that could feature the coastal ecosystems of Norwalk. Again, trying to create a public shoreline destination that is unique within the region and very focused on interpreting and restoring ecosystem growth to this area. Next slide. This is zooming a little bit to the east. So in this presentation, we're really focusing on the water and harbor-based portions of the project, but happy to go back and answer questions about any aspects. Chris mentioned a couple of the central parking lot spaces and play spaces and the central power plant. But on the east side, there's this really unique existing feature of the harbor inlet here, where there is this deeper water zone that previously was dredged and is being used for different industrial purposes today, including the construction of the walk bridge. The team is looking to repair these edges and make them more resilient to sea level rise because they're vulnerable today, and create a harbor promenade along this edge, a place that food trucks could come rest, a place that would have lots of tree planting, lots of shade, a safely elevated path, and then these different moments and ways to get down to the water along the harbor promenade. So on the far left of the screen, you're seeing potential the restoration of the existing pier that sticks out in the water, which is the goal to restore that space and use that as a place for ferries to dock to provide multimodal access to the greater site. Ideally, many people could arrive to this site by water, and this will be part of a larger ferry network that potentially could connect up to other water and harbor-based destinations like Sheffield Islands and the Norwalk Aquarium. So really building that network of water-based use. There's also proposal here in the middle zone shown where like small crafts could pull up for a couple of hours and like have access to the park. So provide a kind of parking or management system to allow small boat access. Also on the left side of the screen, you see potential space for docking of a research vessel, for example. Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute is one of the partners on this project, and we want to provide space for facilities like theirs, vessels like theirs, to be able to come here and do research on the sound. And then to the east of this image, we're really thinking about the upper portion of this harbor being a very protected, kind of cordoned off space that could be used for kayaking and this kind of soft graded sloped access into the water, a place where people could learn to kayak or begin to engage, small boats in that way, small kayaks or human powered boats, and really being part of that park experience, that you could come to the park with your family, maybe visit the playground, but also have a quick spin in a kayak and have a water-based experience that's difficult to have today. Next slide. In the northern site, we've already presented the northern forest to this commission, but happy to answer any questions there. Along the water's edge, what we're really looking to do here is to, today along the eastern edge of the site, there is a large pocket marsh, which you see in the foreground. We are preserving, enhancing, and expanding that marsh, but the rest of the shoreline is a kind of harsh, like rip-rap, and I would call it rubble edge. And we're looking to really break that down to pull the slope into the site. So not fill out into the water, but pull the slope in, pull it back, remediate that space, stabilize it, and make it part of a living shoreline edge. So what's being depicted here in this image is a small sequence of wave breaks, of tidal wetlands, a curving boardwalk that would allow people to access and understand this living shoreline approach, and a series of kind of constructed tidal pools made of rock at different scales and sizes that interpret these different habitats of Greater Norwalk Harbor. Next slide. The rendering on the next slide just shows that living shoreline immersive experience, trying to go from like a hard riprap or rubble edge to something that's much more alive and contributing positively back to the greater harbor ecosystem and providing very unique public access along the edge. Next slide. And then the entire project has many different like scales and types of gathering and circulation, but I think it's really important to mention the multimodal path, which is a long loop path around the entire site that really connects these different water-based destinations. It connects small overlooks, and this is a linear path along that western marsh, really being able to like understand and overlook the existing ecosystem there without impacting it. It wraps around to the beach areas. It wraps through the harbor promenade, and it kind of ends and wraps around in the forest and moves through the currently approved design for the northern forest. So anyone, regardless of age or ability, would be able to jog or wheel or walk on this path and experience Norwalk Harbor and the Long Island Sound in a whole new way. And so with that, I'll pass it back to Chris.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. Commissioners, I am going to run through 4 slides. Heavily focused, number 1, on the site-wide ecological restoration and best management practices. The next one will be on alignment with the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan goals. The 3rd slide will be the Manresa Island guideline-specific compliance. And then the 4th and final slide will be the coastal site plan review, CSBR highlights. So on this page, it's fairly straightforward with just 3 targeted outlines around remediation. So really the commitment through the Connecticut Deep Stewardship Permit to remediate the site to the place that it's safe for human and animals to levels that DEEP requires. So we've got the stewardship permit issued as of December last night that commits our nonprofit entity to the committed compliance of site-wide cleanup. So we are currently progressing that with the Phase 1 North Forest, and we'll do so for the rest of the site. Number 2, the green infrastructure and stormwater BMPs, similar to Phase 1. We will do, follow all best management practices to really increase the vegetative buffers in a strategic way to capture and filter any runoff before it reaches the harbor. And then number 3, invasive species management and re-establishment of new, resilient, long-term, diverse habitats. The tagline in the bottom right is the benefit of the site to the local bird species. It's in the 200+ range. So just the understanding and the commitment of the project team to maintain that commitment to the local ecology in a long-term resilient way. Next slide is the alignment, our views on our commitments and alignments within the Harbor Management Plan goals, 1 through 10. I could talk through all of them, but I think, in respect of time, we can come back to this with questions, but we feel like we have we've shaped so much of the master plan and the development vision for the project around water-based use and connection to the sound, and it just aligns really, really soundly with the goals listed in the Harbor Management Plan. So we feel very, very strong about that. The guideline-specific compliance. So we looked at 3A, 3B, 4B, and 5A. And our in-water structures, our compliance there is just, committing to minimal length necessary in our reconstruction and enhancement of the water access for our commitments to that multimodal water access to the site for ferries, boats, kayaks, etc. And then neighborhood protection. We've spent a ton of time over the past 2 years with initial master planning and then refinement with the community to make sure that our active programming elements of the site are pulled as far south and away from the neighboring adjacent communities as possible, and then are making commitments to dark sky compliant lighting for the site, as well as being very thoughtful with sticking to the Norwalk noise ordinance and being a good neighbor there. Guideline 4B with the car launching, we are going to provide multiple options for kayak launching into the sound, not just into the interior of the harbor, but also in other areas on the site along the shoreline. And then 5A, intertidal resources preservation priority use. We just mentioned we're just minimizing our footprint to what's required to accomplish the water connection that we are looking to provide. And then the last page, coastal site plan review highlights. We've got water dependent use compatibility in our DNA for the design. The resiliency planning is at the backbone of what SCAPE and Ty and Bond have infused into the design, with the resiliency of the roadway, utilities, and building infrastructure to meet the FEMA flood DFE elevations of 15 where required, as well as the natural resilience of the shoreline adaptive design that SCAPE is implementing and really rolling things back to work with sea level rise over time. And then, yeah, I would like to hand it back to Liz or Doug to, I guess, provide any closing comments and open up to commissioner comments, questions, etc. But yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Liz, I think turn it back over to you to wrap up, and then we can certainly entertain any questions the commissioners have relative to what we presented or anything else that they've seen relative to Manresa Wilds.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you, Chris and Gina, for your presentations tonight. I don't have anything else to add. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you may have from a procedural perspective or where we are in the process with zoning. But any member of the team, if you have questions of them, we'll certainly answer them. If we don't have answers, we'll get them for you. But we look forward to hearing your questions, your comments, your suggestions, and thank you for your time this evening. So we're open to anything you'd like to ask us, and hopefully we can be responsive tonight. And if not, we will get the answers to you.
Great. Thank you, Liz. Commissioners, do you have questions? Chris? Alan?
I'll start. So
Sure.
this is not what we are voting on tonight, right? I thought we were voting on a zoning, a new zone with a series of, with the zoning matrix of all the approved uses, correct?
There was a plan. Amelia, can you clarify that?
Yep. So
what are we voting?
Application to the Planning and Zoning Commission, but that application includes a special permit, a text amendment, and then a zoning map amendment. So it's everything that's on the one web page that was hyperlinked in the agenda.
Right.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's what we're voting on, though, right? The zoning amendment part, not all this.
All three of them.
Manresa's. Well, then what Manresa presented, and it's all good information and it's good refresher, but that's not what we're not voting on. We're not approving their schematic plan, right? So I'd like to, maybe we should go over what the zoning changes we're voting on are. And how and who.
Excuse me, Commissioner McDonald,
Yeah,
I apologize
go
for
ahead.
interrupting you. What is before you tonight are the two applications that relate to the creation. One is the creation of the new zone known as the Special District Manresa Wild Zone. That is the creation of a district, a zone that for this 125 acres, how it is to be developed moving forward, what the specific requirements may be, such as setbacks and building coverage and things that you would typically see in a zoning classification that exists in the current zoning regulations today. There is no specific zone for Manresa Wilds as a property today. Property is currently zoned CD1S, which was the old B resident zone. So we've we've proposed a brand new zoning classification with all of its specific requirements and uses and the like. The text amendment and that new zoning classification comes with it a list of uses that we anticipate short-term and long-term for the property. So in the zoning code, there is a table of uses. The table of uses identifies all of the zoning classifications and all of the uses and whether those uses are allowed, whether they're allowed with limitations, I mean PL permitted with limitations, whether there's a special permit use or whether they're not permitted at all. We have taken all of the uses that we contemplate and identified whether those uses should be permitted with limitations, special permit or not permitted. There's also a text amendment application, and that centers on the entirety of the zoning regulations and where it needs to be modified to incorporate reference to this new special district, Manresa Wilds, or other locations in the zoning code that may be in conflict with what is proposed for this property. Lastly, there is a special permit application, and that centers on a development plan, a general master plan development concept for the property. And that is conceptual in nature. Nothing that would be approved by, no recommendations that you would make to Planning and Zoning Commission or that the Planning and Zoning Commission would approve, approves uses. It approves the establishment of a zone, but we would need to come back to Planning and Zoning Commission over time for many of the uses, depending upon what that use requires. For example, if a use requires a special permit, it's in the code. We don't have approval for a special permit use, we would have to come back to the commission. Just like if there's a new structure, we would need to determine if that structure is permitted with limitations or special permit, either or. We would have to file a coastal site plan application with Planning and Zoning Commission for that structure and that use, and that too would be referred to this commission for your review and recommendation. So you're being asked to make your recommendation as to the new zone, the text amendments, and that overall master plan in terms of its consistency with your harbor management plan.
Good. Thank you. That was my understanding. We just didn't see that side of the equation here. So should we review the approved use matrix? Well, I'll be more specific. My concern was that I thought that all the uses for marine uses was consistent with what we've done in marine commercial districts and CD with a 3W, 4W. I was curious why hotels were included as a permitted use when that hasn't been any part of what we've heard as part of the Manresa Wilds project.
I'm certainly happy to answer that briefly, and Jessica or Chris or anyone else can supplement what I'm going to say. Some of the uses that we propose, and whatever classification they are, were emerged from the various discussions and community engagement that took place over time. And hotels was something that some constituency suggested would be appropriate, so that if you come to Norwalk, you go to Manresa Wilds, there may be an opportunity to have a small hotel that would be beneficial to those visiting Norwalk, those coming to the park. So that was added as a result of a response to community engagement. There are other suggested uses that were similarly added due to community suggestions, such as a parking structure. All of those uses that are in the proposed matrix of uses are going to be reviewed by Planning and Zoning Commission, who may agree with our suggestions, may agree with the uses, may disagree with the uses, may desire to make those uses have greater limitations or not. But we presented what we thought represented both what we need from a operational perspective, long-term maintenance and operation of the park, to responses to what the community suggested as uses that they deemed appropriate and would like to see on the park.
Commissioner, if I can add to that, and I will share my screen and maybe we can go through it briefly and you can ask questions. What I'm going to show is some of the tables of uses that were submitted to Planning and Zoning and referred to this commission. I think you're speaking to, and give me one moment. If you can see, this is the list of uses under Norwalk Zoning Code that first and foremost are represented in the concept master plan that we just presented to you. So this is what we are intending to bring forward should the district be approved. The amphitheater, which has been brought up, is actually refers to the Learn Pocket that this commission recommended and that came in the initial North Forest. It's about 30 benches for students to use. And you can see, as Attorney Suchi noted, it's permitted with limitations. The limitation is no larger than 150 seats. Like I said, this could allow for future expansion if it became more popular with education groups, et cetera. That's one of the things the commission is discussing, is what's the right limitation if it's so seen to do that. The park, I think, is self-explanatory. By special permit, it was suggested there is very difficult cellular service out there, that on existing structures, a cell tower, not a separate tower, but on the structures could be appropriate. Commercial recreation covers many of the activities we just talked about on site. An event space would be in the turbine hall itself. We didn't highlight it on this because it's not really right on the shoreline and whatnot, but it would be part of bringing people to the site within the Turbine Hall restaurant to service people who are visiting the site so they didn't have to leave to eat or come back or always bring their own food, and not go through parking lot, brew pub distillery, which we believe is an appropriate use for the visitors of the island, so on. Boat, and then you get into more of the water-based activities, boat terminal, building facility, boat sales, rental, leasing. There you can see the limitation. It's for rental only, speaking to the kayaks that Scape alluded to. And the other uses, including a representation of the Maritime Center, potential partners, commercial boat dock for the ferry, et cetera. So these are them. I won't go through the further, but you can see from what Attorney Sachi referred to, there are certain uses that are special permit. They came up in discussion. They may be deemed appropriate in some scale, but we realized that they are subject to discussion with people who are not in favor of that as well. So it would be recommended for discussion as a special permit. So it would have to come back. It would require a public hearing so the public could weigh in, additional information that the commission, Planning and Zoning Commission, could ask for, and those. Then there are permitted with limitations, and we provided the limitations, many of which are more restrictive than what's in the code today. The permitted uses, which many of them are, fairly make sense, I think, and some we feel are important to the visitor experience, all under the guise of whatever is put here under this zoning has to pass muster with traffic, with other things that planning and zoning does on a regular course of action to make sure it works. And then we have all of the rest are not permitted, which is, of course, the bulk and the majority. So those were the materials. I went through it very quickly. I apologize, but that was referred. So that is, I think, the piece you were speaking to, Commissioner, which is that list of uses and where was it? So, excuse me.
Chris,
I would like to just comment that it is really a very thorough overview of what could be possible and what can involve there, which is, I think, appropriate for where we are in time with this project. We don't know precisely all the details of what's going to be there until we get there.
Correct. Perhaps, Ms. Sachi, you could sort of explain the district creation and then the coming back under the concept master plan to future applications. I'm not saying we don't want to do that, but just to outline the overall process that we would anticipate going through.
Sure. As I noted before, the master plan and many of the images you saw tonight are conceptual in nature. So for many of the uses that we are proposing, whether they be permitted with limitations or special permit, a very large number of them will require new applications to the Planning and Zoning Commission, referrals to this agency because the property is within the coastal zone and there is activity proposed along the shoreline, and further review and analysis for this board to make sure that what we're proposing is consistent with the Harbor Management Plan and the Connecticut Coastal Management Act. So this is not the one and only opportunity for you to weigh in, to ask questions, to consider and to question what we're doing, but it's just the beginning. We're laying the groundwork and the framework to move forward with creating Manresa Wilds. We have to start somewhere. And the first is to create the zone. What does that zone entail? What are the uses that are allowed? And what's the overall concept master plan for this site? It may change over time depending upon when we return and if boards and commissions that exercise jurisdiction over this disagree with us or ask us to make modifications or are uncomfortable with aspects of it, whether it be traffic or stormwater. But we start here to create a zone and we keep moving forward with that zone. And then it gets whittled down when we come back to the city with various specific applications for various specific uses. Does that answer your question or is that unclear?
That's clear. I just wanted the information that
Sure.
Doug presented to be out there because, and it be clear for everybody what we're voting on, that we're voting on these new approved uses, not the actual implication of them, but the allowability of a dock or a hotel or an outdoor concert. Those are all things that are approved or allowed under this zoning change.
Correct.
So there's quite a lot. And
Sure. And part of our charge and our challenge was to present what we thought would be an all-encompassing concept, so that we wouldn't have to keep coming back to the city in 18 months or 2 months after that. We tried to be all-inclusive, so we would give the entirety of what the concept is from now with the North Forest under construction to 10 years from now, when all aspects of the conceptual master plan have been implemented. Anyone?
Chris, does that answer your questions? Any other commissioners have questions, comments, concerns?
I'm just maybe a little bit confused. This is all pretty new to me, but was there an effort to try and fit these things into an existing zone rather than creating your own new zone for this? And why would that not work?
Thank you, Commissioner Wilkins. That's an excellent question. The current zoning is basically limited to single-family residential, some other uses, and park. But a park doesn't allow for all of the other contemplated uses that we have. It doesn't allow for some of the educational uses. It doesn't allow for some of the recreational uses. So we thought it was more appropriate to create a new classification for this property, rather than try to overlay onto the existing CD1S zone an overlay zone that could be cumbersome in how it's implemented, how it's interpreted. And we just thought this was a cleaner way to include all of the uses, exclude the uses that we don't believe appropriate for what we want to achieve, and have the commission, the Planning and Zoning Commission, weigh in on what it deems appropriate from a public policy perspective, from its long-term planning perspective, and create that framework from the outset.
I guess I meant more, I understand it's residentially zoned now, but what about mixed commercial or marine commercial? Can it be zoned otherwise, and have those avenues been explored?
Liz, I'll take it from a sort of a non-legal point of view. It's an excellent point. We did go through and look at CD, the marine version, CD4, 3DC, 3C. The issue there is there's so many of these other private commercial uses that are allowed, like some it's commercial boat storage and sales, or it's tied towards offices, right, and other things like that aren't appropriate here. We don't want them here, and the community doesn't want them here. So again, whatever existing zone we try to use, it took a lot of work and machinations to try to make it fit something 125-acre privately owned public park on the water that truly really doesn't exist in Norwalk, other than some of the civic spaces. So it was really because often it's easier to take something and just modify it, but we really came to the conclusion that it was better to present something whole cloth for what is, we believe, a one-of-a-kind project in Norwalk.
Good, thank you.
And I did read through the information, and I think public access is strongly consistent. You're going to increase the public access to the to that area. Environmental restoration, I can't say enough about that. At least conceptually, everything appears to be in line with the harbor management plan for that, and you've got a great team, one of the best, to do that. The recreational activities and opportunities that Manresa will provide not only to the residents of Norwalk, but to visitors alike. You're talking about kayak rentals and boat slips that people can tie up for a couple of hours. Research vessels. I'm all for research. If anybody's ever gone to Woods Hole, you certainly would appreciate that. The water quality is most likely consistent, with some additional information with how you're going to handle, stormwater runoff and all sorts of impervious surfaces, etc. All of that. The water dependent uses is, you've already stated that you're going to have visitors come in by boat, by ferry. So the ferry and the research vessels, as well as the kayaks, is there going to be a charge for that? And that could all get, ironed out later. I mean, you can rent the kayaks, I get that. But if somebody wanted to tie up, is that going to limit the water dependent use for that? Regarding the boating, regarding the boating and the slip rental and the kayaks. So some of and I believe one of the gentlemen, public comment, stated this as well, that I didn't really get a sense of how you're going to handle, navigation, or you're going to limit the kayaks just to that, southern area of that, where the barges used to come in, or can they paddle out and go out? So that goes with harbor safety. So is there a safety plan and all of that? And lastly, public trust and long-term access. And it's not so much a zoning change, but it would be just some questions that I had, like, what about public trust and long-term access? What if the privately owned property gets sold, So is there any information on that? Is there long-term access?
Thank you, Commissioner. That's again another excellent question. Part of what we're trying to do with this process is take these steps so that we can get to those decisions. We have started working on them, and I'm going to ask Jess Vonashek, the executive director, to speak to some of those issues. But it's trying to settle on the uses that the Planning and Zoning Department and all the groups referring to them believe are appropriate here. And then we can take it then that extra level and say, okay, how do we develop fully formed operational plans and other safety plans around those things, rather than saying, we're not really sure what we're going to end up with, but we're going to work our way there. So we're trying to do it sort of incrementally. And I think Jess can give a lot of visibility into our thought process on that, and the operational side and what they've done, looking at stuff around the country and public stewardship of the land, et cetera. She's the right person.
Great. Thanks, Doug. Yeah, so we don't have an operational plan that is detailed in place today. What we did do is look at the pier and look at the berth. We met with Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute to talk to them about the research barge and potentially the research vessel Tioga, which is one of the vessels that was here just a couple weeks ago, and it'll be back from August the 4th to August the 9th if anyone is interested in seeing it at Vets Park. We also met with Sheffield Island because we know that the Sheffield Ferry, potentially operated by the Seaport Association, may potentially be a stop at Manresa. And while it's not confirmed yet, we've been talking to them. We've also met with a few developers that I'm sure you've heard some of their applications in the last number of months that are looking at development on Water Street and any potential connection that could be like a water shuttle or a water taxi that could connect into some of the Water Street development that potentially is happening in the future. And we also have met with some construction folks in the city of Norwalk that are focused on barges and focused on water construction to ask them sort of about the pilings and what kind of infrastructure we need and how best to go about that infrastructure, including sort of the safety between boats and how wide slips should be and so on and so forth, as well as meeting with Ty and Bond, which is helping us to do the engineering for the pier itself. One of the things that was flagged really early on is just that motorized vehicles and non-motorized vehicles do not mix well and that they should not be mixing at all in any way, shape, or form. And so one of the things we've talked about internally is using more of the deeper area of the berth that is sort of closer to the northern portion of the berth area for kayaking and paddleboard lessons for beginners where the water is very calm and it's super sort of sheltered there. And so we can put sort of school groups in there and put younger folks in there to be able to learn how to start paddling. But that means that we would then need to have a very, very strong division between where any motorized vehicles would be and in any non-motorized. And so we've split that out where we basically would have more of the active kayaking and paddleboarding closer to the inner area of the berth, and then all of the motorized vehicles sort of out at the end of the pier, if constructed again. And so that's one of the things that we've been talking about a lot. We've also been exploring a few other kayak launches around the site that would operate somewhat like what the city of Norwalk has currently at Calf Pasture Beach, where potentially there's a rack and people don't live on the water, have the potential to store their boats there and be able to take their kayaks down and be able to access water. And again, those aren't things that we've sort of nailed down as far as details, but they're things that we've been exploring just based on obviously the goals and the vision for the site to connect people to the Long Island Sound, and also the fact that we have almost 2 miles of coastline where we have the ability to allow people to not only connect with the water, but potentially store some of their kayaks and paddleboards on our site as well. So definitely we've been doing a little bit of a road show with some of the design for the pier and the water uses, just so that we have the ability to put health and safety first, and of course functionality and being able to get people to the site over the water as well.
Okay. Thanks, Jess. Other commissioners?
I understand having to go forward with a bit of a pie in the sky application to try to include everything so you don't have to go back. But I'm slightly uncomfortable with some of the proposed uses given, the purpose of kind of what the general overview was of what the purpose of the whole project is. So that's my only bit of a hang up there. But I understand the purpose, and I understand when it goes to planning and zoning, they might say, actually, you're not allowed to do this, that, or the other thing. I have to just mention the concern regarding that.
So Kelly, you're worried about the uses and whether or not planning and zoning says yes, but do you have specific uses that you're concerned about?
I mean, the stated goal, like obviously we want to increase access to the harbor and all that, but a hotel, like sort of what you said later. What if the plan doesn't work out and it gets sold? And then what happens now that we have this special district and someone comes in, what's the next plan? I guess I'm just looking forward. Like, I love the idea of it. I think it's great. I think it would be great for the community, but I'm just worried down the road, I guess, with the creation of the special zone.
Yeah, the one thing I can say is that we spent about 18 months talking to the community and trying to sort of get the litmus test on what people wanted to see and what people didn't want to see. And one of the things that we did through that process was, there were 4 pools and we reduced to 1, and there was a canopy walk in the Northern Forest and we reduced that, and there was parking under the building and we took that out. But there was also some things that we heard, like overnight stay, you know, so there were a few people that talked about a hotel, and actually some of them were from the adjacent neighborhoods, and they were saying, one, if people come in on a Friday, then they would leave on a Sunday, so that may actually impact traffic in a good way where they're not coming back and forth. Another comment was, you know, we live in a home that used to be a cottage, and when our family comes during the holidays, they end up staying at the Merritt 7, you know, up at Merritt 7 where the hotels are. They're not close to where we are. And so we heard some of that. We also heard, not related to hotel, but what about artist and resident stay and being able to actually have people from the Norwalk Art Space come? And I know they had an effort not too long ago where someone stayed in one of the lighthouses, and so exploring that. And then the third piece that people talked about, which was heavily discussed, was the importance of education and academia on the site and being able to allow students an opportunity to stay on the site if they were able to. And so all of that discussion got sort of moved into picking and choosing words that are in the planning and zoning dictionary that go along with hotel and B&B and dormitory and all of these kinds of things. So I wanted to give a little bit of light on how the conversation came up through the public process and how we move that forward. But we fully expect that the city will help us weigh in on what they would like to, what should be on the site and what shouldn't be on the site. And part of the public process through planning and zoning district creation is that we will hear again from the public on July the 29th. So we heard once on July the 15th, and we'll hear again on July the 29th. And then it's our responsibility to go back and look at all of the comments we've received and hear the comments from your group, from your commission, and also the Planning and Zoning Commission, and make revisions to what we're asking for in that district creation. So I wanted to put it out there that we're hearing what people are saying, and we're hearing a lot of the concerns that are coming through. And while we don't have an opportunity sort of on the fly to be able to piece together the response to all of these things, we will come back to the community in August to be able to have that conversation. So I wanted to let you know a little bit of context of why it was included, but also that we hear you and that there is an opportunity to revise what is being asked for as part of the proposal.
Yeah, and Commissioner Bloom, just to follow up on that, so we absolutely understood, and particularly that, because it's not in our proposed master plan, but you're correct, it would be in there. So it was proposed at what we consider the most strictly regulated category, which is special permit, so that it would have to come back with all any additional information and a public hearing, because we knew even if it was granted, the public would want to hear again at that time what was specifically being asked for. It may not be enough to Justice's point, but we acknowledged up front that it was a use that was in I'll call it the left-hand column, not the middle or the right-hand column.
Kelly, does that answer your questions?
Yeah, the master plan sort of, I think it conforms to what we would, the harbor management plan, but when you see all and I get why, I understand the purpose of it, but I would, unless I said it, I wouldn't feel like it was right.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, the opportunity is just astonishing. And then you think about how any one of these activities could expand to and get a life of its own to really grow out of a seedling and really into something much more important, like kayaking. You can teach people how to beginning kayaking. You could in 10 years, you could see a Norwalk kayak trail out to the islands, very much like we have the biking trail and up to Danbury as you know, a kayaking activity for adults or professionals, you know, trained people. So I just think there's so much room for this to once it started to grow in all directions and directions that people come up with that we haven't thought of yet. Is my point. It will in a sense you build it and they will come, but the ideas and the activities will grow out of the facility that is provided, I think.
Thanks, Alan. And I don't know if we had an answer for the public trust, long-term access.
I don't think we addressed that piece. So that's one of the questions that I think is coming up a lot. Commissioner Mangles is sort of like, well, it's one thing when Manresa Wilds is managing the site, and what does that look like? And I think part of that are the conditions that are written into the planning and zoning approvals that we seek. And so, I can say here openly that there's absolutely no reason or no thought why it wouldn't be under Manresa Island Corp for the management. And we've always talked about that in perpetuity. We've also talked about Allison and Austin McCord being the one funder for an endowment that would last many, many years and in perpetuity. And we also have someone on board on our team that's helping to establish sort of diversifying that. And there's a lot of interest in that as well. And so, this happens a lot around the country, and this isn't the only model where philanthropic funds and gifts are used in order to be able to not only construct parks, but also manage parks in perpetuity. And so we're not concerned about that, but we hear what people are saying and we understand where the concern is. And I think that is going to come in some of those conditions that get approved as part of the district, which is that those district approvals are tied to Manresa Wilds as a park and not as anything more than that.
Okay. Thank you, Jess. Does anybody else have any other comments, questions, concerns? Danielle?
I'm good.
Okay. So we need a motion. And this is that we don't find it inconsistent with the plan. And this new district, and Kelly, I understand your concern now that you mentioned the hotel. If there's one, is there going to be two? Is there going to be, how big is it? But I also understand that with the points that were made that, it would be nice to be able to have someone come in, visit, and stay there, and dormitories or something that students can actually spend a week or 2 weeks or something on the water. So it would be that would be beneficial. And again, that is consistent with the plan, with the harbor management plan. If they're using access to the water, education, access to the water, that's a win-win in my book. Does anybody have any other comments?
Well, the other thing I say is I was just kind of pleased to see how the proposal addressed really the goals, the 13 goals, the harbor management plan, and the presentation really addressed those goals very nicely. I thought it was very, very well done.
I know that it's pretty broad, the plan, but as Jess had pointed out, that it's got to go to planning and zoning. They've got to approve it, and then it's going to come back to us. So they, if they want to put a roller coaster there, you're going to have to get some type of approval from us.
For the record, definitely no roller coaster in the plan.
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
I was thinking bungee jump from the smokestack.
We've heard a lot of really creative ideas on how to use the site. And so it just, zip lines and roller coasters and all these kinds of things. And so just noted, none of that is actually in the plan itself.
Yeah, I didn't read that it was, okay. I would have enjoyed it. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, the plan is consistent with some information. I know that we're going to need additional information. You're going to have to work with the Harbor Management Commission and the Harbor Master, as far as safety is concerned and all of that, and navigation, and Coast Guard even. So as far as that's concerned, I know that's a work in progress. I know there's a lot of work in progress, as well as stormwater management and all of that. But as things start to progress, then we'll learn more, and it'll have to come back to us. So I'm I'm okay with saying that the plan is consistent with the harbor management plan. If anybody else wants to back me up on that, that's fine. Or if anybody has any questions or wants to. Alan,
I think it's an excellent motion, Jeff.
Okay. So you are seconding that for the plan?
If that's a motion, I would second it, surely.
Okay. Anybody have all in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain? Does anybody you don't agree?
I'm
Objections?
having a hard time finding it consistent with the plan when our plan doesn't mention any special districts. I don't
Well, that's another thing that we have to.
I don't necessarily disagree with the direction of it. I just feel uncomfortable confirming that it's consistent with the plan if there's no specific mention of that in our plan. To my knowledge, there isn't.
We won't have a special district. We won't. But it's all about the use of the harbor. And is it consistent with beautifying the harbor, the trail that we just approved as well? So, or the boardwalk, whatever. So that is consistent with the plan. Yes, it's in a different zone. And that's another thing that, do we want to approve or have no objection to having this new zone created?
Well, that's what I thought we were voting on.
Correct. So do we have any objections to the new zone? Or there's the new zone, there's the plan, there's the text amendment.
I think I'm struggling with the new zone. Just like as Kelly said, there's a lot that's out of our control that we're being asked to approve, where it goes to planning and zoning and it gets taken out of our hands a little bit. I think that directional change could be problematic for, I think I'm thinking of my constituents here, and having to answer to this without knowing what exactly I'm approving is just I'm a little skeptical of that.
So Liz, Suchi, can you tell us the difference between the
just point of
new
order,
zone
didn't the motion carry?
So, well, that was for the plan that was presented in front of us.
Oh, wait, we weren't voting on the plan. I thought we were voting on the zoning. The only thing in front of us was approving the special zone, right?
I thought that
we
the
were
plan
approving the special zone, the text amendment, and the conceptual
Yes.
plan. There's
Correct.
3 items.
Correct.
We're not voting yay or nay on anything Manresa said about what Manresa Wilds is going to be.
Yeah.
Right,
That was the whole
because
point
that's
I made
always
at the
changing.
beginning.
That's always that can change. So let me rephrase my motion then. So a motion that we have no objection to the new zone, but John, I understand that you have the objection. I don't have any objection to the zone change. Liz Suchi, if you want to give us a comparison between what the zone is now, which already was, it was residential, and now it's not going to be residential. It's going to be basically a mixed use, and it's going to be one special zone. It's not going to extend, and correct me if I'm wrong, anywhere else except for Manresa Island.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. The current zoning classification is CD1S, and that generally was the old B residence, that the vast majority of use was single-family residential with some other uses that were allowed by site plan or by special permit. The SDMW, the SD stands for Special District, and there are other SDs in the current regulations. There's the SDM Marine Commercial, there's the SDLI. We just came up with SD MW for special district Manresa Wilds, because it was a new and specific district and it wasn't a community district. It didn't fit in the CD classification that there are other districts in town. It would only apply to this property. It would only apply to the 125 acres. It would not be a zone that could be created elsewhere in the city simply because of how the zone is defined. It has to be 125 acres. That's the only parcel in town that could qualify. And there are specific new limitations in this zone that would not be appropriate for the CD1S. There are height limitations and there are additional setback limitations and coverage and all height and bulk requirements that any zone must have. So we have created a new zone, but it's similar in its language and its verbiage to other SD zones in town. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of the only way I can answer it.
That does clarify it. Thank you. So that's.
And just to remind everyone, you're not approving, for example, the educational building or the dormitories. You're not approving them tonight. You're approving concepts for this zone so that in the future, should we come back, they will already be in the zone. We do need future approvals for uses that have site plan requirements, that have coastal site plan requirements and special permit requirements. Some of those will require new public hearings that the public will have the opportunity to be heard. They will all, if there's an application, have to come back to this commission for you to weigh in to determine consistency with your harbor management plan. But tonight you're not saying, okay, go ahead, Manresa. You have all the opportunity to go ahead and build your educational facility. You can go ahead and get that ferry service going today. It's conceptual. And I know that's not something that you may be used to seeing, or that is something that's traditional or conventional, but it's the way in which to create a new zone, the way in which to create this overriding conceptual plan that gives the framework for moving forward with the development of this site as a privately owned public park.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Sushi. Chris, anything else? So again, I don't have any problem moving this forward. So I'll rephrase that to move forward with this special district Manresa Wild Zone. So that's the motion, to move that forward. Anyone else?
So is that the motion on the floor?
That's the motion. Yes. It is reframed.
Is there any discussion or on that?
I'm just asking now. Is there anybody?
Needs a second.
Yes, we need a second.
I'll second.
Chris, do you have any comments?
No, I think that the new zones are consistent with the harbor management plan. If it didn't include all the marine uses, I'd be voting completely the opposite way. But in terms of our purview here and maintaining this waterfront property as marine, with marine uses, I think it fulfills that. So I will vote in favor of it. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners have any input? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that portion ends. And Liz, what else do you need from us?
So you had the conceptual master plan, the creation of the zone, and the last application were the various text amendments to align the zoning regulations with the new zone, should it be adopted in full or modified by the commission.
Correct. So no objection. I have no problem with the text amendments either. So I'll make a motion that we move that forward.
I'll second.
Alan? Objections? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay. And the conceptual plan, which is how I started off this whole thing. So the conceptual plan, which provides, everything that I pointed out before, access to the harbor and to the water, environmental restoration, all the work that SCAPE, I believe it is going to do, recreational opportunities, and everything it's a work in progress. My concerns, because I'm always concerned about navigation, harbor safety, and of course the public trust. But I think that all of those have been answered, and as things progress and change, as Jess had pointed out, motors and paddles don't normally mix. And Danielle, you could probably attest to that with, if you're a rower. But so the conceptual plan is consistent with the harbor management plan. So I make that motion.
I'll be the seconder in chief tonight.
Okay. All in favor of that?
I'm not sure why we're voting on that. I'm not sure why we're voting on a conceptual plan.
Okay.
I mean, I appreciate the presentation, and I'm glad for the information, but it's not an application. It's not. They're presenting us with information. I don't think we have to render an opinion on it.
Okay, so we have no objection. I have no objection then to moving that forward. So no vote is needed. Or does the commission have any objection to moving that forward?
Got the motion now?
Yeah, there's no vote really needed. Amelia, can you
that's what I'm saying.
clarify that? Amelia, can you clarify if a vote is?
I would say that this is technically a part of the special permit application that they've referred to, so I would advise you to vote on it. However, you don't have to. You can choose not to vote on it, or you can vote on it at your next meeting.
Conceptually, I don't have any problem with it. I think it's all encompassing, and then there'll be tweaks. And then any of those tweaks will have to come back to us. That is how I took that. Liz Suchi, Attorney Suchi, I believe that's what you just stated.
I'm not sure if this is appropriate since there's a motion on the floor. However,
okay, I take back my motion. Go for it.
If there are changes made by the Planning and Zoning Commission as part of their review and decision, those changes would not come back to you. That would be on their action. If we were to make additional changes, if we were to propose new uses, if we have applications that we must file after the zone is created, the text amendments are approved in whatever form they're finally approved, and the conceptual master plan special permit is approved, then we would need to come back to you depending upon what those are, whether it's first special permit, coastal site plan, or a site plan, or if we have other text amendments in the future. But should the Planning and Zoning Commission modify what's before them, that would not come back to you.
Right. Planning and Zoning can say yay or nay to anything that you propose.
That's absolutely true.
So we would have to work with Planning and Zoning commissioners. We would have to work with Planning and Zoning, and I would expect Planning and Zoning to actually ask us what our thoughts are. And I think that they will. And there's going to be other public hearings. So Chris, does that answer your question? Or do we want to just hold on to this until next month? Chris McDonald?
Yeah, I'm going to abstain if we vote on it because I don't even know why we're voting on it. It's not the plan itself it's just a presentation. it holds no weight and no authority or anything. It's not, we're not approving anything. I appreciate the information, but I don't know
Okay.
what we're actually voting to do other than say thank you for
Okay.
the information.
No, that's a very valid point. So you don't want to vote on anything unless
I'll abstain. You can make a motion and I'll abstain on it. You're still the chair.
Sure. All right. Well, yeah, no, I conceptually I'm okay with it. So I'll make a motion. If it gets knocked down, it gets knocked down. But I'll make a motion that we approve that.
Approve or have no objection.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify. So if we conceptually approve it as is, nothing that's on that plan has to come back to us, just anything new. So if we don't approve it conceptually now, anything has to come back? Is that? If the
Everything
text
will have
amendments get approved, and we don't approve the overall concept, does any concept then have to come back to us? Or if we approve the concept now, does that, whatever's on that presentation, not have to come back?
Anything with planning and zoning wouldn't have to come back to us. Correct. If they want to put in more slips, if they want to do anything with the shoreline, if they want to do anything that's going to affect the water use, that will have to come back to us.
Or Kelly, if this answers your question, you're approving the conceptual plans, but if they decide they want to, if they want to move one of those concepts forward, and if that plan, like building the amphitheater, if that does require a planning and zoning commission approval, it will be referred back to you.
So anything with planning and zoning approval will need to come back to us, especially on that piece of property. So there is a motion now.
Would you restate the motion, please?
So my motion is that the conceptual plan is consistent with the harbor management plan. Water use, environmental, everything that I stated before. Environmental restoration, getting on the water, recreation. There are some other information that I was concerned about, water quality and things like that, that needs to be addressed and will be addressed, I'm sure, and that will go in front of not only us, but will also go into Shellfish Commission. The big thing was the access later on in life. And then, the navigation. So those are the things that I was concerned about, but, I know that they have to work, and get approval for all of that. So, through the harbor master is the sole authority here. So if they wanted to throw moorings down, if they wanted to do anything like that, then they'd have to go through, just standard harbor master and us. So we'll take a vote. We need a second, actually.
I'll second.
Okay. Now we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Or abstain?
I'm sorry,
Abstention.
froze. I oppose.
You oppose. Okay. So I don't see, let's see. So one abstain, one opposed. Danielle, what were you? I can't see you for some reason.
Yeah, I just verbally said aye to approve.
So you approve. Kelly? What's that?
I approve it conceptually as it's proposed right now.
Okay. Then that carries. So there you go. All right, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you,
You're
commissioners.
welcome. Have a
Thank you,
great night.
commissioners.
Thank you
You're
all for
welcome. Have
your
a great night.
presentations and time.
Thank you, Commissioner
And
Allen.
hurry up,
Thank you.
get to work. Get to work, hurry up.
Yeah.
I want to be the first on the zip line. That's all I know.
I'll beat you down. I'll get to the bottom first.
It's a race.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's see. Manresa, stand by. All right. And that's it for that. All right. So, reports. I don't really have anything to report on. I do know that the Grassy Island, I almost said Shea, Grassy Island. So that has been approved by Recreation and Parks, the Grassy Island cleanup for the Eagle Scout project. You know, and I expect some bloom oysters and clams out there as a thank you to them. Harbor Master I'm sorry, Shellfish Commission. Do we have anybody from the Shellfish Commission?
I'm here, Mr. Chairman. Do you copy?
I do.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we had no new agenda items, just our committee report. So essentially no report from us for July. I think we do have one coming up for August though. So everyone, thank you. Interesting meeting, and eat Norwalk shellfish. I yield back.
Great. Thank you, Steve. There was that one special dredge permit for the city marina. There was some concern about where they put the dredge material. And is that all cleared out?
Well, that wasn't in the meeting, actually. That was after the meeting.
After your meeting?
Correct.
Okay. All right. The harbor master is not here. He does not have he didn't have a lot to report on. He did put some lights on the floating dock, which is installed. Do we have the deputy harbor masters here? Let's see.
Yes, I'm here, Commissioner Mangles.
Ah, there you are. Hey, Owen.
Bruce just wanted me to convey two things. A gentleman named Arthur Weinberger from the Norwalk River Rowing would like to do a cancer survivors row on September 26th in the morning. There's no time, and he'd like some participation from the harbor master and the harbor commission on that. I don't know if that's possible. Norm Edwards, and we've gotten several complaints and several calls regarding to winter stakes on mooring gear. And Norm Edwards thought that it'd be a good idea to put some winter stakes out there so that we don't have the same situation as we had last winter. Those are the only two things that Bruce wanted me to convey.
Thanks, Owen. What were the issues with winter stakes?
So, when you keep the conventional ball or keg out there, it gets lifted in the ice and moves around. And also Norm Bloom, who is Norwalk's Coast Guard, is not able to move the ice as he needs to. So the winter stakes would facilitate his ability to break up the ice and move the ice out of the harbor as he needs.
Okay, now I understand. Okay, so you want winter staking.
That's correct.
Okay.
And obviously there's a dollar amount associated with that, and we don't know
absolutely
who's going to pay that bill, but it is we've received several phone calls regarding that, people's gear being moved and not being able to break up the ice as effective as it could have been broken up.
Yeah, that might be under moorings and harbor safety. We'd have to make a change because currently our regs do not say you have to winter stake. So we would have to look into that as a change.
Understood. We also got I've received several phone calls regarding illumination on our our buoys, on our channel markers, something similar to what Huntington Harbor does. And we're looking at that, looking at what needs to be done. But as far as what Huntington has done, they've just put a simple light that shines down on the buoys, and we're just looking to see if their Coast Guard approval needs to be done. We need to go through Coast Guard approval, or who's going to fit that bill. And several of the clubs in Norwalk, the boat and yacht clubs, have said that they would contribute to that.
Okay. All right. It's a pretty good idea. They are pretty dark out there. Just got to know where they are. That's all.
That's it.
It doesn't matter if it's dark, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's dark. You just have to know where you're going. All right. Sergeant Pasigli? Do you have any information you want to share?
No, I got nothing else to add. Owen pretty much covered it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. And that brings us to mooring and harbor safety. John, go for it.
Yeah, not a whole lot happening. We had 7 transients since our last meeting. Still, I think only the one that stayed on the dock. The rest were on moorings. Thank you for covering me while I was away last week. And by the time our next meeting happens, it looks like we'll have 3 more, including they actually happen to all be over the next 2 days. So we'll have a couple of boats out there tomorrow out of Sheffield, and somebody on Saturday over the weekend, or Friday over the weekend. And then the only other thing, I got an email earlier from the St. Vincent's Swim Across the Sound. They're still looking for boaters to volunteer as chase boats, and I think they just follow the swimmers along, and there's a few other roles that they're looking for. So if anybody's interested in helping spread that word, you can reach out to me individually.
It's not going to be swim across the sound though this year, right?
Yeah, it's swim from Seaside to Black Rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's just on our side.
Yep.
Okay, great. Finance, Chris?
Got nothing to report. I haven't updated any of the spreadsheets, so we can do that for next meeting.
All right. Plans and recommendations, Alan?
Yeah, I sent out a list of just various items that could be on our should be or could be on our radar. It was really just to prioritize them or add other people's ideas of things that we should be aware of. I got a very light response on that. So if you could all, if you have any opinion, send them to me and I'll try to put them in some kind of an order of what we think would be a good use of our attention on harbor things, improvements, activities, regulations, whatever. That's my report. Thank you.
All right, great.
Do
So,
we have, do we have next steps or any kind of project plans for starting to coordinate the dredging?
we do not yet.
I couldn't understand the question.
Dredging.
Oh,
Coordinate dredging. Is that right, Commissioner Kirkjian?
Yeah, just because that was one of the things on his list. And I just wanted to know if there was any, like, I know he's prioritizing it, if there's any. We had previously noted when reviewing the harbor management analysis that that would be like a priority project. So just wanted to see what we need to do there.
Sure. Do you want to spearhead that dredging information?
Sure. I will talk to Amelia about how we looked at that in the past.
Okay. There's SHIPS grant that we can go for. There's all sorts of things. SHIPS grant for street ends, getting qualified for that. And if we can get any extra money from them, we'll take it. So that's great if we can do that. Nothing else, Alan?
Yeah, and I just said to Danielle, I'd be happy to help if there's any on her dredging odyssey. I'd be happy to pitch in.
Sure. Yeah, Alan has you handle that for over at Shore and Country, right? I
Yes.
think.
Yep.
Okay. So you're well versed at doing that. Fantastic.
Very well
And
versed.
if anyone does respond, please respond to Amelia, who will forward that on to Alan. You could respond to.
I thought Danielle was taking the lead. I'll help.
Well, any of your any from the email that you had sent out, any
that, yes.
and recommendations, anything that
Yes.
You wanted to do something like that. Newsletter and website, we don't have anybody doing that. If anybody wants to volunteer to update that, that would be great.
I did see a response about Seaside Place that the city said that it was a private road. The actual road is private, but the front of the house is the part that's public. So I don't know if that was, I saw something, someone sent me something. I don't know where I saw it, but I know that there was a response that it was a private road. The road itself is private, but the part that's public access is in front of the homes by the water. So I don't know. I think, Alan, you might have been looking into that.
I was looking into that. There was a map that got sent in that showed the road. There are a lot of roads down there. There's one road that goes right through the middle of all the lawns down there, which is the road I know. There's one they showed on a much older drawing atop the seawall all the way around the
Right, it's by the
around
seawall.
that property.
It's not a road, it was like a path, basically, but
Yeah.
that's what they were referring to, but I don't know if there was some confusion with using road.
Isn't there a city monument at the end of that?
Yes, where
Yes,
the
there is.
village landed.
There is.
Right.
Daughters of the American Revolution Monument, the
Something, yeah.
DAR. Yeah.
And I believe it says the city of Norwalk on that monument, does it not?
It does.
Yeah, it's a burning of the city of Norwalk. Daughters of the American Revolution put it there. And it's on, it's on all the nautical charts too. Most of them you'll see, if you zoom in far enough, you'll see a symbol for a monument on that point.
I saw it somewhere that there was a response that was private. I think the road itself that is
It's public.
private, but the road around by the seawall is public. So I don't know if there's any more work to be done there, but I just wanted to bring it up.
Yep.
Yes, that was General Tryon that came and burned the city. Even the British didn't care for what he was doing, but they left 6 houses, I think, standing. Maybe one was a balloon, if I remember right. But water quality, I don't have any other information on water quality. I heard that, and I just have to check with the mayor's office to see if that's going to be resurrected. Amelia, do you know if water quality is going to be resurrected?
It seemed like there was interest or intent to do so. I think there were talks of holding a meeting for future discussions on this. So it seems like they do want to restart the water quality committee, but it does seem to be a slow moving process.
Okay, thank you. And discussion of SHIP round 6 application. And Amelia, you and I had a brief discussion on that, and I just sort of stole your thunder, I guess. But the SHIP 6 application, so we can go ahead and work with the city to go ahead and ask for funds to develop the street ends. Amelia, do you want to expand on that?
Sure. So it doesn't have to be street ends, like Danielle was saying too.
Right.
You could absolutely apply for funds for dredging. The application is open during the month of September. So with this meeting and the August meeting, still have plenty of time to figure out what you want to do. I just did want to add this to the agenda to gauge what project you guys would be interested in applying for. And most importantly, the funding, because this grant, it does require a match. So you would need to contribute, or the commission would need to contribute funds, and then SHIP would match those funds. So kind of just opening the door to discussion. Are you leaning more towards developing those street ends, or the street end that Corporation Council has hired the title searcher for, which I'm hoping to have an update for you guys soon on? Or do you want to lean more towards dredging? So and obviously you don't have to decide tonight, but I did want to get it on your radar for what you want to do and how much you would be willing to spend.
All right, thank you.
on
The
that-
ship's grant, don't you have to have permitting in place and everything approved already to apply for that?
Yep. So it would be a very tight turnaround, especially considering we haven't gotten that title search back yet for the street ends. But thinking about the types of projects that you guys would be interested in doing, if it is something more simple, like putting out a kayak rack or launch, or just putting benches there and things like that, we might be able to do so. But it's likely going to be a tough turnaround to get all that permitting in place and get the application in. But it doesn't close till the end of September, so there's still a little over 2 months. We might be able to make it happen.
Jeff, it would be useful, or Chris, if we had a treasurer's report to see what our cash position is shaping up to be, since we don't have a lot of expenses that we've had in the past. You know what I mean? So we should have. It would be nice to know what kind of cash we have on hand that we ought to be trying to spend if we have something to spend it on, so we don't carry a tremendous balance forward.
Correct.
I think it's in the order of like $80,000. I'll have the latest number next month, all right?
Yeah, if you just
Okay.
Get that when you have a chance, because it'd be useful to know what our cash position is.
Yeah, if you reach out to Amelia and then and just let her know, Chris, that'd be great. And in the meantime, all the commissioners can reach out to Amelia as well. And this goes back to Alan's plans and recommendation. Here's his thoughts, and do you have any other thoughts? So, I mean, all of that, and it could be a simple thing, or it could be sort of major. But again, permitting has to be in place. So, just keep that in mind.
We're several steps away from that. I mean, we have to have biddable documents in order to go. We have to at least have permit documents in order to get permits. It depends. You don't even really have worked out. So
yeah, you're sort of breaking up there a little bit. I could get most of that, but yeah, so permits and documentations are needed and approved.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Amelia. Do we have any other discussions, any other new business? Okay, need a motion to adjourn?
Second. Beat you, Alan.
Second the
So,
motion.
so I'll make the motion to adjourn then, and
Sorry.
then so unless John, you make the motion then.
I'll
Joe
make the
does.
motion to adjourn.
All right.
Okay. And Alan,
I'll second.
There you go. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for attending. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Aye, guys.
Right.
Take
Good
care.
night, guys.